Perhaps one of the coolest shots in golf is that low launching, low trajectory, long or mid iron that you might know as a stinger. In learning the stinger, we learn to deliver lower dynamic loft at impact, which gives us the ability to hit shots lower, so better wind play, and also for most recreational players, it means that you're going to achieve more ball speed on any given iron, and your irons are going to start to travel much, much further. So let's unpack the secrets of the stinger. But before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel out. We're going to grow. We're going to put out more content to help you with your golf game. Let's go. Secrets of the stinger. So let's unpack the critical competencies, the things that you need to be able to do in order to achieve a lower launch trajectory and put the stinger into your golf game. It's actually a fairly simple concept, a concept that we're going to be able to describe using two tools. The first tool is a tool that's sitting on my club face. It tells me where that face loft is angled relative to the ground. The higher the face loft is at impact, the higher the launch angle. The lower the face loft is at impact, the lower the launch angle. The face loft, we'll call that dynamic loft, coincides with another concept, which is where is the arc relative to the golf ball and relative to the ground from a too far to the right or too far to the left standpoint, or more to the right or more to the left standpoint, that gives rise to an impact condition we know as angle of attack. And so if there's a recipe for success in launching your irons lower and putting the stinger in your game, it's going to be more negative angle of attack, so an arc shape when you make impact that is further to the left or further to your lead side for any golfer, to the left for a right-handed golfer relative to where the ball is sitting, and in addition to that, a very low dynamic loft where the handle wins the race when you arrive back to impact. So those two concepts are the concepts we're exploring. We're going to take a 3-iron. It gives me the greatest probability of low launch angle. Understand that whether I'm hitting 3-iron, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up the bag, these same concepts put into play the skill of launching your irons lower. So I'm not going to make any adjustment at address for my stinger shot. Although oftentimes I get asked the question, well, could I improve my ability to launch my irons low and hit a stinger just by simply moving the ball position back in my stance statically? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. So we stack the deck in our favor in order to launch an iron shot lower if we migrate that ball back in our stance a little bit. So know that that's a potential option. I'm going to show you an ability to simply hit the stinger from a more normal orientation at address, because if you can learn the swing moves, so the dynamic moves in the swing, then it's a fail-safe. It'll ensure that you have the stinger and the low launch ability through the bag, and you won't need the accommodation of ball position, although players do use that. So, standard ball position. So this is my body at address, relatively weighted 50-50 over my feet, and this is my shaft angle at address, which is largely parallel to my spine angle, perpendicular to the ground, with maybe 2 or 3 degrees of handle lead at address on any normal iron shot. Then I want to take this address and I want to create this impact. So what I'm rehearsing here is I'm rehearsing some amount of movement of my body. We'll call that shift towards the target. So I've got hip bump, but in addition to that, I've got shoulder bump. So it's not just the hips bump, because if I just bump my hips, I actually cause my arc, if I'm side bending in my upper body, to impact the ground a little earlier, and that would be a higher dynamic loft than desired type of impact. So I've got to get my hips and my rib cage traveling towards the target some amount. What amount is good? What amount is this right here? It's 4 fingers. So I've got this stick, 1 golf ball on the outside of my lead ankle. Then my hips, since my stance is wider than my pelvis, my hips are further away. They're some 4 or 5 fingers away. I want to get my hips and or my lead shoulder over this stick, or aligning with this stick, like it's a brick wall and I'm trying to bump into the brick wall. Now, that's step 1, right? We've got to have that quality happening, absolutely. But in addition, we have to have that quality of handle movement towards the target. And so how do we learn that? We simply prime it at address, or prime it pre-swing, where you're rehearsing some amount, an exceptional amount. So I've got this blue stick, and it's forward of my lead toe by some 12 inches. Visually, out of my peripheral, I've got my handle some 8 inches further to the left than this blue stick here, and that primes that low dynamic loft. And I put those two things together, and I've got a really, really low launch angle. So TrackMan probably had that one less than 5 degrees of launch. In fact, it's a 1.6. In fact, it's a 2.9 degree launch angle. The dynamic loft on this 3-iron, I delivered 4.7, and my attack angle was down 7.9. So I took 20 degrees and I turned it into 4.7 at address. So you do the math at home. If I'm addressing with roughly 20, or maybe I'm at 18, I've got 2 degrees of forward lean at address, and then I went down to 5. That's some pretty simple math in terms of the amount that you need to feel. Now, sometimes we need an assist on what this low dynamic loft condition needs to feel like. Here's what we would go to. We take a tee and we go one club head out in front of the ball we're trying to hit, and we angle it into the ground just like so. We think of the tee as it's the head of a nail. And we think of the face of the club as it's the head of the hammer. We're trying to align the head of the hammer such that it's going to be driving the nail further into the ground, and oftentimes that external visual of what we're trying to create, club to tee, translated into the back edge of the ball, then creates that low dynamic loft condition. All the while, if we shift more, we bring the handle further to our lead side, helping us drive the nail even better. So it's a rehearsal of drive the nail, and then it's a live fire. You probably saw the nail flick up in the air. Again, a very similar launch angle, maybe a little higher than the last one. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a launch angle of 4.8 degrees on a dynamic loft of 7 and an attack angle of down 6. The misconception that most people make is that you can't be shallow in your angle of attack. You definitely can be shallow in your angle of attack. So you can hit a low stinger without shifting that angle of attack to down 8, to down 10, to down 12, right? And the way we do that is we simply feel like the handle's close to the ground as we're moving the club through impact. So it's like this long, low arc traveling through impact where the handle is being carried ahead of the club head the same amount. So right now my handle is probably 12 inches ahead of my club head visually. And we're just going to continue to carry that through, carry that through, carry that through before the club head kicks past the handle. That's how you achieve a very low dynamic loft without adding a bunch of negative angle of attack. Understand this, if I did it again, which I will do, it would be okay for me to shift the attack angle to down 10 as long as I'm able to make solid contact. Drive the nail, even though the tee's not there, I'm going to increase the angle of attack now. Very much so. In fact, it launched so low, it struck the stick in front of me. That is my visual launch angle. That kicked the launch up into the air. So that's a device error right there. That would have been the lowest of launches, and therefore the least of dynamic lofts, and also a much more acute angle of attack. The last point, and we're going to shift to a down target line. The question I often get asked to close this video is, do I need to be steep in my vertical plane or shallow in my vertical plane? Or does it really not even matter? And I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter. Let me demonstrate. So as a final demonstration, to hit a stinger drill, you can do it from a more upright vertical plane, or you can do it from a more shallow or flat vertical plane. I'm going to demonstrate both of those. A more upright vertical plane may contribute to a little bit more left to right curve. It doesn't necessarily have to, though. There's a very, very straight shot, just moving slightly right in the air. So I've got a launch angle of 7.8, dynamic loft of 9, and I've got a vertical swing plane that it didn't get. But visually you would see how tipped higher that vertical plane is. And finally, just as an example of a shift from steep vertical plane to flat vertical plane, we can accomplish the same launch angle, low stinger, just like so, on a much flatter delivery. So know this, the reason I described both of those scenarios is to say that it doesn't matter steep or flat vertical plane. It doesn't matter whether you're a draw player or a fade player. The critical concepts in order for you to be able to hit a stinger shot and also use that skill, that foundational skill of drilling lower dynamic loft to improve your wind play and improve the distance you achieve in your irons, is simply being able to manage shifting, bumping into the wall with your hip and your knee as you drive the nail carrying the handle forward. Use both of those concepts in conjunction with one another. You're gonna impress your playing partners with your ability to flatten out your launch angle, hit that stinger shot. In the case you need to keep it really under the wind or maybe punch it under a tree branch, and you're gonna start to shoot lower scores. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe. Cheers.